Farisha, Assistant Professor, Department of English, MES Panani College. Today we are going to deal with the topic Preface to Lyrical Ballads by William Wordsworth. Next we have William Wordsworth and his preface to lyrical ballads. Okay, so William Wordsworth, all we know, is a great poet, and like all great poets, he formulated his theory of poetry in his preface to the lyrical ballads. And Wordsworth, a person who was dragged actually into criticism in spite of himself. For neither by temperament nor by training was he qualified to be a critic, nor was his upbringing in the beloved lap of nature, because he is known to be the high priest of nature. Beloved lap of nature that bred an indifference to books at all conducive to critical frame of mind. And his share of lyrical ballads, that is with S.T. Coleridge, published by him and his friend Coleridge in the year is 1798. So this, firstly, this has not been violently attacked by the neoclassical critics of Edinburgh and Quarterly reviews, that is in the neoclassical age. So it is doubtful whether he would have penned a single line of criticism, as it is he had to take the field in sheer self-defense. So this is, it's not because somebody who has criticized him to write a preface for his poems, but it is on self-confidence, self-defense actually, which made him write a critical note on a preface. So he not only made the issue more confounded, but unwittingly proved the opponent's point more than his own. So the chief of his critical paper in this preface to the second edition of Lyrical Ballads, dated 1800, which was revised and enlarged in subsequent edition of 1802 and 1815. So that is the years this thing which comes again. So this preface to Lyrical Ballads, which is known to be a landmark essay in the history of English literature, and is also considered to be the romantic manifesto on poetry and society. So this preface is also a work that is very crucial to understanding of the progress of romantic literary thought. So this work originating in the 18th century Europe, which has been immortalized in our view of poetry and how we think of it today. And he regarded poetry the most philosophical of all writing, the breath and final spirit of knowledge, the image of man and nature. So these are the concept Wordsworth had for poetry. So a romantic period, which means there is a golden period for poetry, nature poetry, etc. So he wants to analyze, he wants to defend, self-defend all his points to the readers. What is the purpose behind the writing of a preface to the readers actually. So there are a lot many number of poems which we still remember on Wordsworth and his poetry, and this is one of the lines of William Wordsworth. I was the dreamer, the dream, Rome delighted with the motley spectacle, groans, grave or gaudy, doctors, students, streets, courts, cloisters, flocks of churches, gateway stars, okay, etc. So this is actually a joint collaborative work by S.T. Coleridge and William Wordsworth in the year 1798. These two young English poets, that is William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge, published a book of poems called Lyrical Ballads in the year 1798. And in 1800, an expanded edition was published with a preface, a kind of poetic manifesto by Wordsworth. So this is generally regarded as the official beginning of Romanticism in England. Okay, so this particular essay preface that is published in the year 1800 first appeared in the second edition of poetry collection Lyrical Ballads 1801, later expanded in the third edition 1802. So it would be helpful for us to first familiarize ourselves with the historical context of the 18th century Europe. Soon before that we will see the life history of William Wordsworth. So he was born in Great Britain, Cockermouth, and 23rd April 1850, and he had the alma mater his college is Cambridge University. So the literary movement he is belonged to is Romanticism. The important works which we know of him is Lyrical Ballads, The Exertion, The Solitary Reaper, etc. So, who's Wordsworth? So, Wordsworth, one of the giants of English poetry, we will see him that. So, plenty of inferior work written by him. So, his theories of poetry, which is more important because that is a revolution which we called as romantic revolution. So he is calling to be the high priest of nature and a poet of nature, and he is a poet of childhood because nostalgia is a main theme of his poetry. And as a poet, that is the thought, reflection, and philosophical thought. And there is a complete package of his lyrical gift we can see with his poems. So, what is the main theme behind the critical treatise called Preface by William Wordsworth? So, we shall see that. So, the chief aim of in the composition of the poems of lyrical ballads has been to choose incidents and situations from the common life. So, that is the main theme he has taken on the lyrical ballads, because before that the neoclassical writing were mainly deals with both the grave themes, not the natural themes. So it is Wordsworth who wants to get themes and incidents from the common life. So at the same time, to over the coloring of imaginations, it's not particularly the conversational language of the people, the common people, but he want to also add some coloring of imaginations, whereby the ordinary things would be presented to the mind in an unusual aspect. So it will look like an unusual thing. Ordinary things will look like an extraordinary things with the certain coloring of imagination. Okay. So it is Wordsworth who says poetry should be written in the real language of common man, and the duty of a poetry is to provide pleasure through a rhythmic and beautiful expression of feeling. And what is the main theme of lyrical ballads is return to the original state of nature. So back to nature is the main theme, in which man lead a purer and more innocent existence. So he also dealt with a humble and rustic life, and it is language is also that of humble and rustic life is that thing. So we have been discussing on the historical background of the 18th century Europe. So in that particular period, we know that the Industrial Revolution, the French Revolution, like the world famous revolutions has been taken place in that particular period, and Europe witnessed massive industrialization and urbanization. And that period, London became the urban center of industrial development, and huge masses of people migrated to the cities in search of jobs. And we also noted that is the backdrop of the neoclassical writers. So what is the speciality of neoclassical works were their adherence to rules and regulations. Of satire was the prime thing in that particular period, and they are having strict definitions for what should be a poetry and who should be a poet. and the language was far away from what people used in daily conversation, and they spoke of extraordinary subjects, which is unintelligible to common people. So it was neoclassicism that was followed by romanticism. So in that particular period, the end of the 18th century, which witnessed a rise of romanticism. So romanticism, the concept or the topic is very much different from romanticism. So romanticism was a movement actually that sought to break away from the old norms and beliefs by revolutionizing the way people thought about society in the 18th century Europe. So it's a breaking of rules actually. And it is also, we know that how the dilemma caused by the revolution in the world, which also made Wordsworth to ponder on and return back to nature. Okay, this is actually inspired by the ideals of French Revolution to shake up the foundation of old hierarchical structures, and distressed by the rise of shocking city life, the romantic Wordsworth set out to challenge all notions regarding poetry. So this is actually lyrical ballads is actually a manifesto of English Romantic criticism and English Romantic literary theory. So they together who this S.T. Coleridge and Wordsworth together published lyrical ballads. So as an important work in the Romantic movement. But there is in this collection we have Wordsworth's most famous poems like Tintinabe, and Coleridge's famous poem which is the Rime of the Ancient Mariner. And so we will having here the definitions which Wordsworth given for what is a poet, who's who's a poetry, who is a poet and what is a poetry, etc. So it is something, all good poetry in Wordsworth view is the what we are calling like spontaneous overflow of powerful emotions, and is so a spontaneous overflow of powerful emotions recollected in tranquility. So which means the poet's line is that of subjective. It is something when a poet observes an awe-inspiring situation, so a wonderful situation, or a surprising situation, or a grief-stricken situation, his emotions are aroused, his emotions are stirred, and he is impelled and compelled from within to give impression, express his feelings. Okay, so the poem is thus a release of the personal emotion of the poet. So the poet cannot help feeling tense until he has given an outlet to his powerful emotions. Okay, when the poetic mood is on him, he sings spontaneously. So poetry is born not in the mind but in the heart. Actually, that is what William Wordsworth says on this. So for a Wordsworth admits a poet's heart leaps when he beholds a rainbow. അപ്പം എന്തെങ്കിലും ഒരു ബ്യൂട്ടിഫുൾ ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു സൈറ്റ് കാണുമ്പം പോയറ്റ്സിന് എന്താ ഉണ്ടാവണം, ഹാർട്ട് ലീപ്പ് ചെയ്യാൻ, ചാടുക എന്ന് പറയാം. സോ ഹീ ഈസ് സ്റ്റിർഡ് ടു ഇമോഷൻ ആൻഡ് ഈസ് ഹിസ് ഹൈറ്റൻഡ് ഇമോഷൻ സ്റ്റേറ്റ് ദാറ്റ് ഫൈൻഡ്സ് എക്സ്പ്രഷൻ ഇൻ വേർഡ്സ്. So it is Wordsworth, he thus established a deep emotion is the fundamental condition of poetry. So emotion which is very much needed for the composition of a poetry. And also Wordsworth, he is convinced that sensibility alone is not sufficient to ensure good poetry. That is, the poetry is produced by a man who possesses more than organic sensibility, has also thought long and deeply. So he again says a poet who should be a poet. So poet is a man speaking to man. Poet has a great knowledge of human nature. Poet is a man pleased with his own passion and volitions. And he says again, the function of poetry is the instrument for the propagation of moral thought. So he says again, the step 2 of the definition of poetry we have seen. He believes that poetry takes its origin from emotions recollected in tranquility. Wow, emotions recollected in tranquility. So what does that mean? So that to compose poetry one needs a fine memory. Okay, one needs a fine memory that can recall the past faithfully. So the emotions originally aroused is recreated in contemplation until it overpowers the mind. Okay, the tranquility, then what happens, disappears. So he again says in the first line of the definition that by spontaneity, so there is an element of spontaneity. So a spontaneity in poetry, he did not reject workmanship there, but what is true of a second thought is the true of a second words. So, in the poem The Cuckoo by William Wordsworth, the voice of the cuckoo awakens in him the recollections of his school days, and he listens until he begets. So, in that particular poem, that golden time again, he says, like the golden time again. So, he says, poet has a great knowledge of human nature. Isn't it? So a poet has a great knowledge of human nature. So the poet in Wordsworth's view is a man speaking to man. He appeals to the heart of man, for he possesses a great power to feel and express his feelings than other men. And he has a ready access to the reader's heart, for the feelings aroused in him by the objects are saner, purer, and more permanent than those aroused in the readers by the same objects. So the way we see a nightingale and the way a poet who's see a nightingale, which is different, and we can very much relate to what a poet who sees a nightingale while we read a poem by that person. So that quality of the poet is called the organic sensibility, or in other ways we are calling like the lively sensibility. So the poet induces the readers to feel his way. So the way we are dragged into see how this poet who see the nightingale, so which is something the poet induces the readers to feel his way, and the readers thus emerge saner and purer than before, like the poet. So the poet then is perceived to be a man endowed with a more than usual capacity to perceive and feel. So bearing in mind that he is writing not for poets alone, the poet must descend from his supposed height. So a poet is not a person who lives in in a tower. Okay, so the great function of poetry according to him, this is that is to better man by arousing sympathy in him. That is the function of poetry, is instrument for the propagation of what moral thoughts. So what does that mean? So okay, people should be jolted out of the emotional indifference so that they are alive to the sense of mystery in the world and nature. So what is the purpose behind this poetry? So is this to instruct people on moral grounds or to pleasure seeking? So according to him, a poetry can act as a stimulus, okay, a stimulus against a savage of the modern world. So this is his dilemma, which is caused by the French Revolution, and by stirring sympathy in the minds, poetry can certainly purify and exalt human minds, according to William Wordsworth, because a poet with his peculiar awareness of the world in nature can redeem mankind from selfishness and frivolousness. So world is going in the level of a selfish world. Okay, so that is what he talk about. And again, Wordsworth's relation to nature and countryside celebrate him as a, we have seen he is regarded to be a high priest of nature, and because of his beautiful description of nature and the rural countryside area. So Wordsworth relation to nature and celebrated as a beautiful description of nature countryside area. So Wordsworth admired nature, not only because it looked beautiful, but because of the simplicity and beauty that nature, a countryside provided, allowed people to be in touch with the soul and experience true beauty in life. So it is poetry, according to him, is discovering truth about man and the world around him. So this is science. In that particular period, there is an emergence of science. So, that is the period of industrialization, isn't it? So science is engaged in the same pursuit, but the truth discovered by a scientist can add only to a knowledge about the material world, while the truth discovered by the poet clings to our mind because for its truth concerning man's relation to other men. So his relation to the external world or the external nature, because a layman, because a layman means a common man, can hardly find delight in scientific truth, while everyone can find pleasure in poetry or nature. So Wordsworth believes that science is never a true guide because it murders beauty to dissect. So we have seen, if you are a science student, so that is a particular thing that you take a beautiful flower. So what you do in a lab is to dissect things. So what do a poet do is write a poem on that particular rules. So poetry dealing with the ideal and the universal truth is as old as human heart. It has nothing to do with the propaganda. So Wordsworth's main object in writing poetry was to console the suffering. What? To console the suffering, ആശ്വസിപ്പിക്കുക, and to make happy happier ആക്കി മാറ്റുക, to enable the young to the old to see, to think and feel. അപ്പോൾ ചെറുപ്പക്കാരായിക്കോട്ടെ, ഓൾഡ് ആയിട്ട് ആൾക്കാരായിക്കോട്ടെ, സോ അവരെ ചിന്തിപ്പിക്കുക, ഫീൽ ചെയ്യിപ്പിക്കുക. ആൻഡ് ഹി ഡ്രോസ് ദ കൺക്ലൂഷൻ ദാറ്റ് എവറി പോയറ്റ് ഇസ് എ teacher. So in this respect, Wordsworth's theory, so ഇത് നമ്മൾ കാണുമ്പം ഡിലൈറ്റ് ആൻഡ് ഇൻസ്ട്രക്റ്റ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ പേഴ്സ്വേർഡ്, ഡിലൈറ്റ് ആൻഡ് ഇൻസ്ട്രക്റ്റ് ഒക്കെ ഉണ്ട് അല്ലേ. സോ വി ക്യാൻ ഹാവ് Wordsworth essential standard or a common, much in common with that of Plato's teaching. So Wordsworth, sincerity is his touch. So sincerity in Wordsworth's view is the chief condition of poetic excellence. What sincerity? And there should be a unity between the subject, the poem, and the poet's conviction. So that is the essential standard for judgment according to William Wordsworth. So and what will be the subject? So again, Wordsworth believed that the city life, so because of that industrial revolution of that period, city life made the masses dull and stagnant life. So the life became very, what we are calling like still. So it had reduced them to overworked machines who failed to appreciate the simple beauty of the countryside. So that kind of a stagnancy he called, he wanted to relieve. And so the subject that he has taken for his poetry was the humble rustic life of common people. Humble rustic life of common people, because that life always found favor with William Wordsworth, because in that condition the essential passions of the heart, what? The essential passions of the heart develop properly, and they will attain maturity. So he gives the charm of novelty to everyday objects so that they excite his readers and dispel the lethargy in their minds. Lethargy means a kind of a boredom. Okay, so his fertile imagination, so imagination, certain coloring of imagination, so that his imagination is fertile, not sterile one. So the fertile imagination throws a distinct coloring over these simple incidents, and thus ordinary things appear in an unusual aspect in his verses. So the objects of nature presented in his poems create sensation and impart in the reader a kind of a delight so that we have never known earlier, and so that the poet or he gratifies all the senses. While we compare Wordsworth with the former hand poets like Pope and Dryden of neoclassical period, Wordsworth was never one with them, okay, because they were believed that the main aim of poetry was to teach morality. Okay, so he agreed with the romantics who thought pleasure to be the end of poetry. So it is both of that. So the main ideas we have been discussing here, the poems are different, the manner in which we associate ideas in a state of excitement. So he is using subjects from the low and rustic life of people. So he again says that poems have a purpose in the drafting. So it is feelings which has got more importance than the actions. So poetry is what? The image of man and nature, and poetry gives pleasure. Poetry is universal. So with this preface, Wordsworth covers a number of issues and is wide-ranging in its survey of the place of the lyrical ballads on the contemporary literary scene. So we are studying still now. So the topics covered all these things like nature, the nature and man. And so long poem in blank verse, humble and rustic life, etc. So again, so there are stages of poetic composition. So വുഡ്സ്വർത്തിൻ്റെ അഭിപ്രായത്തിൽ കുറേ സ്റ്റേജസ് ഉണ്ട്. എന്താണ് ഒരു പോയട്രി കമ്പോസ് ചെയ്യണമെങ്കിൽ കുറേ സ്റ്റേജസ് ഉണ്ട്. ആദ്യമായിട്ട് വേണ്ടത് നമുക്കൊരു ഇൻസ്പിറേഷൻ ആണ് ആവശ്യം. So observation ആവശ്യമാണ്, ഇൻസ്പിറേഷൻ ആവശ്യമാണ്. So what according to Wordsworth, and what is something that inspires a poet into poetry? So it is because he is relating himself. So he is tired of highly elevated topics of neoclassical poet and the overcomplicated language. Wordsworth wanted to make the ordinary extraordinary. Okay, so Wordsworth found inspiration from everyday figures of everyday life. So that's what he do. And whether it be a famous poem Solitary Reaper, so everybody knows that poem. So Solitary Reaper, so we know the poem Daffodils too. So Wordsworth poetry, that is something flows to admire the simple beauty that exists in the daily life. And again says what should be a poem's main subject. So the nature of the imagination and imagination's relationships to nature. So a poem is about a mind's dialogue with nature. So again we have seen this already. So who should be a poet? So a poet is a person who is speaking to man, and he should have an organic sensibility, so to know what is happening around him, and he should have a deeper connection with his own feelings and moods and emotions. Okay, so definition of poet we can say like a poet is a man speaking to man. He knows a lot to greater knowledge of human nature. Okay, he is tuned into emotions. Emotions means his own emotions and the emotions of others. So that is what we call a organic sensibility, of a more lively sensibility. And he should have a good memory, because there is a stage called tranquility. So he can imagine distant things as if they are present. So and has a greater promptness to think and feel without immediate external excitement. And again says what is a poem? So it is the duty of a highly sensitive poet to experience the beauty of ordinary life, or the common life, or the rustic life. So that life which captures into the emotion of the poet, and it is something when he sit in a calm atmosphere, in a peaceful space, he uses his imagination and recollect the emotions, and finally write about those beautiful emotions he has observed earlier. And it is something. And Wordsworth famously defined poetry thus, like a spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings which are reflected in tranquility. And so that is a spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings and emotions recollected in tranquility. So and which is again we know. What is the language that poetry should use? So the real language of man, that is the ordinary daily language, that is something that should be used to write in poetry. And so the common language to a purer form without losing the essence of its simplicity is what Wordsworth recommends in his preface to lyrical ballads. And so he can say is another important aspect of criteria which is known as a poetic diction. So there is something that we should know of this poetic diction. What is it? So we should call him as like a revolutionary poet and a revolutionary critic. Why? So because in poetry he paved the way to romanticism. What is romanticism? In criticism, he revolted against the accepted theory regarding poetry and poetic diction. And he viewed poetry as what? The spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings taking its origin from emotions recollected in tranquility. And thus, he never regarded it as an outcome of reason. ഓക്കെ നിയോ ക്ലാസിക്കൽ റൈറ്റേഴ്സിൻ്റെ പ്രത്യേകത അവർ പോയിട്ടുള്ള തീമായിട്ട് റീസൺ ആൻഡ് ലോജിക്കുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങൾ മാത്രം. സോ because he never regarded, that is Wordsworth never regarded the outcome of poetry is reason in a good sense. So the publication of lyrical ballads, that we can call as a landmark in the history of romantic movement in England. It was a strong protest against the 18th century classical tendencies of correctness, adherence to rules, appeal to reason, and dominance of the particular thing which is called heroic couplet. So in poetic diction, Wordsworth could not see eye to eye with his neoclassical friends. Okay, so the French Revolution had a profound influence on Wordsworth, and therefore he wanted poetry to be a medium. What? Poetry to be a medium for expressing the feelings and aspirations of common man in common language. Okay, Wordsworth wrote the lyrical ballads to justify his theory and to see if he could produce pleasure by writing in the language of common man. So his theory was expressed in his preface to lyrical ballads. Lyrical ballads published in 1798, the first edition 1800 and 1802. So in the preface, he told the readers that his poems were a kind of experiment. What? His poems were a kind of experiment to know how far the language of conversations among the middle and lower class in the society was suited for poetry. Okay, so in the second and third edition, he stated that his object was to choose incidents and situations from common life and describe them in a language by man. So he preferred the language of these men, that is the common people, because they communicate with the best objects in nature and they express their emotions in simple and without using any figurative languages like that is the language is unelaborated expression. So the poetic diction, so it is very different. So vocabulary, phrasing, usage and appropriate for words, everything which is different. So poetry falls into the sound, rhythms and structures of language. So the word choice, so Wordsworth maintained that there is hardly a difference between the language of prose and that of poetry. So he never had any difference between these two languages, that is പദ്യവും ഗദ്യവും തമ്മിൽ വലിയ ഡിഫറൻസ് ഇല്ല എന്നാണ് വേർഡ്സ്വർത്ത് പറഞ്ഞത്. സോ ഹിസ് പോയറ്റിക് ഡിക്ഷൻ ഇസ് therefore devoid of personification, that is the figures of speech, personifications, phrases, figures of speech, antitheses, similar devices. Again, okay, some critics detect a spirit of revolution in Wordsworth theory. So Wordsworth emphasized what the selection of language and the words and phrases should be chosen with the true taste and feeling. So that there is a selection. Good. The selection of choice of words implied the neoclassical attitude of the poets. So this account for the comment that Wordsworth actually ends in good neoclassicism. So selection means a deliberate choice of words, isn't it? So that is again some critics says that Wordsworth ends in neoclassical criticism. Okay, so in Wordsworth early poems, we should know like Guilt and Sorrow, one of his poems. So The Ruined Cottage and that of The Idiot Boy. So we shall see that an absence of strained thought coupled with a forced diction there. So as a poet, he has met with failure. So he is earlier there are his poems there were failures, and he could not express the emotions properly on those poems. But when he practiced the neoclassical way, he rose to the greatness. So like his poems, immortal poems like Tintern Abbey Lines, Immortality, or The Solitary Reaper, we can call them are not written in the language and conversation, the conversation prevalent among the middle and lower class people. So these all poems illustrate that a certain class of poetry calls for a particular kind of language. So thus we find that the language used in Wordsworth on poetry does not conform to the theory he upheld actually. So that is So Wordsworth poetic diction is refined and vernacular words should be the diction of poetry. So there should be, according to him, a coloring of imagination. This is only his theory. So his poetry is not composed on that level. So language of poetry. So it is Coleridge actually. His companion, the collaborative work with him, was to pounce upon Wordsworth's theory of poetic diction. According to Coleridge, language selected and purified as Wordsworth recommends in his preface would differ in no way from the language of any other man of common sense. So Wordsworth cautions poets against vulgarity and meanness. And he insists that selection must be made from language of the common people. And he finally lays down the condition that it should be a language of man in a state of vivid sensation. So his view of poetic diction then boils down to that of Dante, who recommends the common man's language from which rustic, feminine, childish and shaggy expressions are dispelled. So this is Coleridge in his Biographia Literaria. He violently attacks Wordsworth on his preface. Okay, Coleridge point out that Wordsworth's permission to use meter. So there is his usage which is calling as meter. So a particular order and arrangement of words in that is not seen in prose. So earlier he says that there is no there is no difference between the language of prose and language of poetry. So Coleridge does not agree with the view that the best part of a language are derived from nature. But according to Coleridge, the best words are derived from the reflective acts of the mind. Reflection advances a man grows older. So unless a poet thinks like the rustic, he cannot use the language of the rustic. So there are again criticism on Wordsworth works like Immortality or Tintern Abbey or Duty, Laodamia, that these are the great poems of Wordsworth because but actually that are not written in a selection language really used by man. Coleridge has objected to the use of word real in Wordsworth words. So a selection of real language of man. So in his opinion, every man's language varies according to the extent of his knowledge. So every man's language has its individuality and the common properties of the class to which he belongs, and words and phrases of the universal use. So Coleridge amends real to ordinary. Okay, so these there are lot many weaknesses to his theory, but it is significant again. So he relieved because Wordsworth is a person who relieved poetry of an artificial and unnatural diction which has afflicted English poetry for over 100 years. Okay, so this is the egoistical sublime, we call it, but poets on subjective knowledge, which is important, the view of the truth. Beauty is extremely attached to his work. So the poems that produce are filled with their own imagination. So Wordsworth's works are often said to be examples of egoistical sublime. His own experience of things is what he believes to everyone's experience of things. Okay, so these are the things mainly discussing in the lyrical ballads. So the subject thought in preface is poetic diction and that of his poetry, of his view of poetry. So this is in Wordsworth's view, this is an experiment against the inane and gaudy phraseology of the neoclassical age, that is the 18th century, and he wants to ascertain how far the language of conversation of the low and middle class people that can adapt to purpose of poetic pleasure. So the principal object of this poem, according to Wordsworth, is to choose incidents and situations from common life and to relate or describe them throughout as far as possible in a selection of language used by man. So to throw over them certain coloring of imagination whereby ordinary things should be presented to the mind in an unusual aspect. So Wordsworth uses the simplicity of language. So he wants to choose only the low and rustic life of people. So that condition free from all outside influences. Man speak from their own personal experiences. So that is a simple language. According to him, that is more permanent and far more philosophical of all language. Okay, so poetic diction, there is his this theory which is of his idea of poetry and his poetic diction. So what is the poetic diction according to Wordsworth? So poetic diction was to imitate and as far possible to adopt. Okay, so what to imitate and what to adopt? The language of ordinary people. Okay, so he says that there is a definition he has given for poetry, that is a spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. It takes its origin from emotions recollected in tranquility. Okay, so a poet is a person who is a man speaking to man. His poetry should give pleasure to the common man reading it. The moral consists partly in the refinement, and so he again compares science and poetry. So while the happenings in science pleases only a scientist, the poetry is the breath and finer spirit of all knowledge. The breath and finer spirit of all knowledge, according to him, it is the impassioned expressions which is in the countenance of all the science, according to Wordsworth. Again, there is a Wordsworth view on meter. So Wordsworth believes that meter added to the piece of poetry is pleasure superadded and calls it the flowers of speech which is variegated and dignified. So again, the theory of poetry and the theory of poetic diction. So we know that it represents the aim to bring the language of poetry to nature. So that is the simplicity. Language should be simple. So he declared that his chosen theme was no other than that very heart of man, ordinary people. The language of poetry should be the language really used by the ordinary people. So that ordinary people, he even mean the peasants, the farmers. He stood out the champion and interpreter of new democratic faith. So Wordsworth says that a poet is a person who knows the nature. So the nature means which consider common man. Okay, the landscape, the solitary reaper, subjects which were almost untouched by neoclassicists. So neoclassicist is the group of people, writers, they wrote about nature. They also wrote about nature, but their subject was rich and artificial, and women considered the nature, the human nature was the theme. And these are the main things we need to analyze. So the romantic period, so we know a coloring of mystery, strange and mysterious. They are revealing wonder of things that is removed from real life. So again, there is for the romantic poets, there is an interest in the past. These romantic poets, they sought to get away from the pressures of the present reality, and they find modes of deliverance of the dead weight of the routine. So they want to return back to the past. So we can trace the love of nature in the poems of romantic poetry, and they were interested in humanity. So their great interest in humanity and dealt with the lives of common men and women. So it was the essential character of man as a man that interested in them. So we know the poets like Wordsworth, Coleridge, Shelley, Byron. They all comes under the title called humanist. So the poems are elements of simplicities of life. So instinctful, the elements of simplicities. So Rousseau calls that particular ideology as return to nature, back to nature. So that is a part of a larger naturalism that sought to bring people back to the bosom of nature. And also freedom of imagination, that is also there in the poetry of romantic period, because imagination is the cardinal characteristics of the romanticism. So it is the feeling, or it is something that is a freeing or unfettering of passions or emotions in art and letters. So free the passion. And so there is a subjectivity. So it is not objective view, it's a subjective view, and there is a spontaneity. So what does that mean? So romantic work concern not so much with the external facts of life as with their own feelings and emotion. Okay, poetry to them was the spontaneous overflow of powerful emotions. It is the poet's own emotion that finds expressions in poetry. So and he should have a speculative and in search tendency. So a speculative and search turn of mind should be there. So besides expression and heightened sensibility of the imagination, a stronger undercurrent of the speculative intellectual power, also the best works of Wordsworth we can see. So there is a regeneration of a poetic style in the poems of Wordsworth, and that of the hands of romantics. So the interest in the past is actually that led them to experiment with old meters and poetic forms. These are all the things, the ordinary things of life and nature, thus assume new appearance and acquire a new charm under the imaginative treatment of the poets of the romantic period. So in fact, the whole of Wordsworth poetry is an integrative vision of nature and man revealed through his imagination. So it will be safe to say that modern day poets who hold ideas like self-expression and sensitivity so dear to their hearts truly owe to Wordsworth's works to reinforce ideas so simply yet so revolutionary. So it's so simple and yet it is revolutionary. Okay, these are the main ideas which deals with the preface to Lyrical Ballads by William Wordsworth. Okay, thank you.